Welcome to Things My Mother Forgot to Mention.
The podcast where we say everything our mothers didn't.
I'm Jan, a trauma therapist and author turned rogue storyteller, here to talk openly about the body, aging, and all the, wait, what? Moments of womanhood.
And I'm Patty, an online business and tech nerd whose purpose is to elevate the voices of women in our world and who doesn't believe in taboo topics. Things My Mother Forgot to Mention is the podcast for every woman who's ever said, wait, why didn't anyone mention this to me?
Join Jan and Patty, two outspoken, curious, outrageous women, as they dive headfirst into a messy, magical, and often WTF realities of aging, health, and quite simply being a woman.
From rogue chin hairs and vaginal thinning
to mental health, perimenopause, and scalp cancer. Yes, really.
Nothing is off limits. It's funny, it's raw, it's real talk your mother definitely skipped.
Let's get into it.
I'm so excited today, Jan. We are interviewing somebody that you know, that you have invited, and her name is
Laura Blundo.
Laura Blundo. And we're going to talk today about perimenopause with her and her experiences with it.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm going to share what Laura shared. She says that she is a New Hampshire girl, woman from head to toe, going back to the 1700s. She's now in her early 60s and coming into her children's weddings, becoming a new grandparent, all while embarking on a move to a new area this past December. In her personal world, she loves her family and friendships, gardening, hiking, boating, skiing, pretty much all that nature has to offer. As a professional, she is a relationship coach working with couples as well as individuals and helping them become more loving, respectful, nurturing humans. She specializes in betrayal trauma recovery, as well as our traumas experienced in childhood, which directly affect how we show up in our relationships today.
Yeah.
She sounds fascinating.
Yeah. Another relationship person.
Yeah. I love it.
Yes. I've known Laura probably about 20 some years now. So this is exciting.
That's
I'm
so
looking
great.
forward to hearing from her.
Awesome. Let's dive in then.
So Laura, welcome. I'm so glad you decided to join us and for you to talk about your journey with perimenopause. So uh, the topic of our podcast, of course, is things my mother forgot to mention. And just curious, like, did your mom mention anything about going through menopause or getting there or that journey?
Well, hi, Jan. Thank you for having me. And the answer is no. No,
No, she didn't say a thing.
no, not a thing. Not a thing. My only introduction to menopause was watching my mother go through it in her 40s.
Wow.
40.
Early.
Yeah, it was very early. And she was it was very emotional. Like she was very, one of those people, just very erratic emotions. And
That what you saw for her kind of
that's what I
symptoms?
saw. Yeah, that's what I saw. I didn't know, no, there were a lot of things that my mother forgot to tell me. But
Like,
on the topic of menopause, no, it was just never discussed. Much like our periods, my period, was never discussed.
she never said a thing to you about,
No, it was just
No.
very, very taboo topics, I
Yeah.
guess.
Well, you had a sister. Did your sister teach you all that, or did you just have to
No.
figure it out yourself?
Figured it out. I mean, she gave me a book that had a little rose on it. Said, here, you this.
So what happened when you had your first period then? I know we're going to talk about perimenopause and menopause, but I mean, we're here, so
We might as well go back to the origins of
yeah.
where it all started.
That's right.
I knew in the bathroom that my mother had products in underneath. You live with somebody, you're from that time when I was 13, I think is when I got my period. So, all that stuff's there. And it's like, okay, well, you've had some health classes, so you got to go, you go. I just went and figured it out.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, see, this was, I have to just say, since we're talking about this topic, is I remember my mom actually giving me, like, back in the day, a pad, and
Yeah.
they used to have a belt with it. Now,
Felt.
Patty, this is way beyond what you
Yeah,
probably
no.
know. But it was like, I remember it had like two little tails on it, and you'd have to bring it through the clip on the belt and wear the belt. Do you remember that?
I do remember that one.
I'm just having a flashback on that. Anyway,
Woo.
so I, of course, did not like that whole setup. And I remember when I was like, oh, probably 15, because my period happened when I was 13. When I was 15, a girlfriend of mine said was going to teach me how to use tampons. And she said, so I'm in there struggling. And she's like, Jan, if you don't get that in there, I'm going to be right in there and I'm going to do that for you. And I was like,
And that's
oh
why
my
women are
God. I
different than
said, that's
men.
horrible. Okay. So I managed to figure it out. So, but isn't it, what a journey. I mean, Patty, it's way beyond what probably you went through,
Oh
right?
yeah, I had we didn't really talk about it either beforehand, but when I did get it, and I was a little late bloomer, so all my friends had already had it. Um, but I got it and my mom gave me a pad, and yes, it was just a sticky pad that goes on your underwear, so it was
You
very
didn't have,
simple. I didn't have to strap anything on in a weird way or
Well, there's a lot of incentive though to like wanting to learn how to use a tampon
Mhm.
because
yes.
it's just not comfortable.
Yeah. I don't use tampons. I never used tampons. I didn't, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I always felt like I was wearing a diaper and I hated that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so then your mom gave you a little book, and then beyond that, you just had to figure out like your periods. And did you talk to your sister at all?
I don't have that memory. Talking to my
Really?
sister. No,
Because I always thought that if I had a sister, we'd be talking about it, or we would all be sharing the same information. That didn't happen, huh?
no, we're close now, but we really weren't very close back then.
Mm.
Got it.
So I think I was more of an annoyance to her than being close sisters. Yeah, no, no. So it really was just sort of figure it out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, this is crazy. And well, we're both a little bit older than Patty. But it seems like even back in your day, Patty, if mom never taught you anything about that or forgot to mention, it's that's one of the reasons we're doing this podcast is because there's so many things that were never talked about, and that's crazy. We
Yeah.
are in the 25th 2025, right?
Yes, we are.
So
Holy
I
cow.
am actually through my journey of menopause, and I know we want to talk about perimenopause, but so my mom's 85. She'll
Wow.
be she'll be 85 in October. But we've had because of my conversations about what's happened to me through menopause, and had these conversations with my mom. And she's like, "Oh, I didn't know that." Like her doctor
Oh,
suggested that she go on hormone replacement therapy,
Mhm.
oh,
and she said no. Nope, she's a very natural person. Nope.
Mhm.
If this is what God wants me to do, if this is what God wants my body to do, this is what I'm going to do.
wow.
And so,
Did she have a hysterectomy,
no.
Laura? No. So it was just when she was going through perimenopause, they suggested hormone
At
replacement.
some point afterwards, they suggested it, and she said she declined it.
Huh.
And she's kind of, it's like a badge of honor to be like all sort of natural to her, I think,
Mhm.
and not need anything.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah.
Well, I think, that's this whole idea that I'm exploring about GSM, genitourinary syndrome of menopause. GSM is the short word for it. And it talks about that probably 80% of all women have it after they've gone through menopause. And guess what? Many years ago, women just put up with the symptoms. They'd have the
Mhm.
burning, the itching, the pain, all of the stuff from estrogen atrophy, and they would just put up with it. And I'm thinking, this is how it's turned into so many women today are not putting up with it, and they're not going to just live with all the pain and all that goes with it. And it's always been so not discussed that everybody keeps it quiet. So, That's why we're talking about this.
Well, also, I mean, medicine for women isn't that old in so many ways. So, I mean, it wouldn't
Yes.
have even mattered if people were talking about it when, up until what, the 1950s, 1960s. I mean, medicine was created for and tested on white men, So, like, there
Right. And
really wasn't, specifically to figure out, okay, what's happening with women. And that's why there's all these issues, with, or misinformation or lack of understanding, I think, more than anything, of like women having heart attacks and that those symptoms are different. And we didn't know that until more recent years, like those sorts of things. So I think that's a part of it too, is
right.
it just wasn't there.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, so much more has progressed about women's health, which
Yeah.
I'm very thankful for.
Yeah.
So what was your, Laura, for you? Then you figured out how to have a period and you went through life and you end up probably figuring out that it comes every month and you have to use some kind of birth control. Probably mom wasn't, she would probably forgot to talk to you about that too. Yeah?
Mhm. Do we really want to go here? I can tell you what happened.
Okay.
Do
I
you
do
really want to go there? You don't have
want to
to.
go there.
I going through, I was in the car with my mother and I was, let's see, I lost my virginity my senior year just before graduation. I was 17. And I was going through the traffic light. My mom was driving and my boyfriend came the other way, oncoming traffic. And I, waved probably really eagerly. And she said, Laura, I don't know how serious you two are, but you would really hate to come home and tell your father that you're pregnant.
Gosh.
That was that. I said, do you want to know?
Oh,
No, I don't want to know. No, no, I don't want to know. Yeah. So
She didn't say you should go get some birth control or anything like that. She just said she didn't want to know.
yeah, she didn't want to know.
Wow.
wow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was not a lot of
Good.
any comfortable conversation around sexuality. I mean, that's a whole nother episode.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is
That's a whole
we
nother
will
episode.
have another episode on
Yeah,
sexuality and how did you learn about all that and sex and
yeah, a whole
all of
nother.
that. So
So
then,
just to lead out, I mean, there just was no from period to sexuality to menopause, just general being comfortable in your own female body.
yeah,
It's just no conversation about that.
Yeah. So,
yeah,
so you started perimenopause, and what was that like for you when that started? And
it was unremarkable, you said, right?
It was unremarkable. I was also on the birth control pill for a very long time, so I had very little to no um periods.
Huh.
You know, was very I was not somebody who had painful periods. I had friends that had endometriosis. Just life was brutal, excruciating, and that was not my life. I had a pretty unremarkable, experience pretty much the whole time. But when I did go off birth control because my husband had a vasectomy, so I didn't need it anymore. That was exciting. Um, let's see. When I started to go into perimenopause, just intermittent periods, really, it was very unremarkable for me. Again, my whole menstrual cycle was
Big
really
deal, huh?
was not a big deal. I went through a little estrogen dominance because I wasn't having my periods, probably not for the whole year yet, but yet I had a lot of breast tenderness, like I was about to get it, but I wouldn't get it. And so, yeah, it really was not very, I had some
Remarkable. Right. No mood swings,
No,
no,
I had
no.
some grief, oddly enough, at the same time that I was beginning to, I think I was actually coming to, okay, this is it. I've been almost a year, or maybe I was somewhat around a year of being absent of having a period. And around that time, my stepdaughter had hers, had her
Hmm.
period for the first time.
Mm.
And I remember I said, isn't this amazing? You're having this? And I said, I don't have one. And I thought I'd be really excited about not having one. But there was actually a little grief. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm segueing into this phase of my life that I'm
Yeah.
and there was I'm actually getting a little emotional about it. I was there. my mother forgot to tell me that I might feel grief about not having my period. Whoever,
Right.
as soon as we get it, I can't wait to be, I think most of us feel we can't wait to be done having it.
Right.
I know that's how I felt. Like, when am
Yep.
I
Well,
ever
so
gonna
it's
have it?
kind of going from, being able to have children and being full of life
Vitality.
to really a crone. It's like, of not being able to have children and
Yeah,
kind of and aging. It's it's not a great thing. I mean, except that you stop having periods, but then everything else starts kind of like a domino effect, of all the other things that start the big decline.
the big
Mm.
dip. Yeah. So I really, I, no, I mean, my perimenopause is very unremarkable. So I was feeling very lucky. I hardly had any hot flashes, if any, really. Um, very
Wow.
fortunate.
That was not my case, but anyway.
Yeah. So then how was menopause for you then? So then you hit menopause, and what was that like for you?
And how old were you, Laura, when you hit menopause?
Uh, 50 fully, I think 52.
52. That's
Yeah,
the average age.
yeah, about 52. Um, menopause was, I think where it really hit me, was, vaginal atrophy
Mm.
and dryness. But, I would go to, I've been always very good about keeping up my annual physicals. And, I would ask, about it. Nobody, nothing. One doctor told me to eat more yogurt. Nobody ever suggested to have any hormone replacement therapy. Not until I was, I mean, way further on in my journey. It was nobody wants to talk about it. And what I did learn was, I think, is changing from an OB/GYN to a GYN that specializes in, what did you say? Geriatric.
Urogyne, they call them,
Okay.
urogynecologist.
Yeah.
Urinary, so they urogyne or
Mhm.
urogynecologist, yes. And that's their specialty of GSM because you're working with a whole collection of symptoms from not only bladder burning and thinning of the bladder and the ureter to the vagina to then the vulva and the clitoris and all the other things that are happening. And really that whole area of down there
Mhm.
or power bundle, as we call it, right,
Our
Patty? The
Hmm.
power bundle is that it has all kinds of estrogen withdrawal symptoms, is what's going on. Yes.
Mm. So
Well,
what
I
do
have a
you do?
lot of withdrawal symptoms. That is for sure. So what did I do? I did first, I went to a Medi Spa,
Hmm.
and I did a radio frequency um internal, like a Mona Lisa. We'll talk about that. I'll talk about that in a minute, but it was something else different. It did not do a thing for me.
Was it what was it, laser, or what was it?
Wasn't laser. The Mona Lisa touches, this is more
Laser.
radio frequency.
Radio
It's
frequency.
penetrating through the radio frequency, penetrating through the vaginal lining to
Mm-hmm.
stimulate,
Collagen?
yes.
Estrogen?
Yep.
Collagen.
Yep.
Oh.
So that was very, I also did at that time a PRP, the plasma rich platelet therapy, which they take your blood and then they spin it, they make a plasma out of it, and then they inject it.
Where
So,
do they
oh,
inject? In your body or in your vagina?
uh, yes, actually, I think this was around my clitoris.
Oh
Whoa.
my gosh, they inject it.
Mhm.
Wowzer.
Oof. Do you get like a nerve block or something when you're doing that? So you get to
My
sleep
last
or
name is my last name mentioned on this podcast.
tell us about your clitoris, if you will.
Yes, let's talk about your clitoris. Let's talk about my crepey clitoris.
God. Oh dear.
I didn't want a crepey clitoris anymore. I wanted one that was plumper and more had more
You wanted
vitality.
more plump. You wanted your power bundle to make a statement.
I have to, clitorises get crepey?
Yes. Oh,
Oh
yes.
dear.
So sorry, Patty.
Oh no.
Since your mother never told you,
She's never told me that.
No, I don't know that any mother they forgot to mention. They
They
probably didn't
sit
even
down and
know
they go, okay,
they didn't
honey.
even know it was happening.
Right.
no,
Right.
no. Yeah, for sure. So, anyway, all of that, really, and the other part is that there's all of that, but also no desire. I have like
Yeah.
zero
The
sexual.
testosterone,
Yeah,
the hormone gone. Yep.
yeah, gone.
That
And
wax
I
and
mean,
wane.
I'm sure I could get myself to the party, um, but um, but I don't desire to go to the party.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I've never thought of it as a party, but hey.
I could get myself to the bedroom or wherever, but
Right.
I don't really.
So I guess that the radio frequency didn't work, and did the PRP work?
Actually, there was, yeah, that actually I would have to, I don't know that I would do it again. It was pretty painful.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I think that and from what I've learned from the current person that I'm seeing, that there's other creams that you can use
Yes.
to rejuvenate that area
Yes.
rather than, having these painful injections of your plasma.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, the whole vulva area, clitoris and labia, they're all have estrogen receptors in them. So when estrogen starts to wax and wane, that all kind of starts, getting shriveled up. It starts thinning out. It starts being in pain. So,
Mm.
yes, creams. Actually, I use some of the cream, and it's great because it'll be easier. It's less painful, I think, Laura.
I would
Yeah.
imagine.
So I have no doubt cream has got to be less painful than that.
Than an injection.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So let's see, what else have I done? I have tried the estrogen inserts like Vagifem,
Yep.
but unfortunately I'm very prone to yeast infections, and
Mhm.
that is makes things just too that
Uncomfortable. Yep.
yeah. So I really have struggled mightily since going through menopause, is trying to strike some sort of a healthy balance. That's been hard. I know I told you, Jan, I did Mona Lisa Touch.
You did that, right?
Yes,
Right.
I did. Yep, I had so the treatments, if I'm remembering correctly, are 6 or 8 weeks apart. There's 3 treatments initially, and then there's
It was paid out of pocket, right?
yeah,
Insurance didn't cover
And
that.
what is it? I don't know what I've never heard of
it's
it
a
before.
laser treatment. So
Okay.
it's a laser treatment, and it also
Like a
treats.
wand, isn't it?
It
Isn't
is
it a
a
wand?
one.
Hmm.
And they just do the whole surface of every part. And they also do at the very top. And this was actually really helpful because when we lose estrogen, our bladder becomes weaker. And so we
Yep.
have, you sneeze, you cough, you laugh,
Yeah.
or I have to pee, and then it's like instantaneous before you actually have to get to the bathroom. But she does a passover the bladder area, which stops that,
Whoa.
which is
Really? So women who have frequency and
Mhm.
can't make it to bathrooms,
Yeah.
then that would help with it? I
Mhm.
didn't know that. I thought it was just making more collagen, estrogen. I wasn't sure what it did.
Yeah, no. So it creates like a wounding in on your vaginal lining, and it calls when it's repairing. So you're building more lining, more estrogen. Uh,
Hmm.
but again, it it was very helpful, but it didn't take me as far as I need to go. So I'm
Mhm.
deciding to do an HRT instead.
So, how long did the Mona Lisa touch last for?
You go back once a year to
Okay.
have it done again.
Uh-huh.
So that's like
Because when I heard about it, this doctor I saw a couple weeks ago, he showed it to me, but he said there's three treatments you have to have. I
Hmm?
guess they're further apart, but it's $1,000 each treatment. Now, this is Boston, so
Yeah.
maybe New Hampshire is different, but I thought that was like, and it's not covered by insurance, right?
Mine was 1,800. I'm sorry, 800 a piece, or if I paid for them all at once, it was 1,800.
Yep. Okay.
So she gave a discount to do,
Hmm.
and I don't know. Can we name names here? I don't.
Sure, why not? I mean,
Dr. Montanarella, in Bedford, and really like her. She's super knowledgeable, and yeah, I liked her a lot. She's
Oh,
my
great.
gynecologist, and I found her through Gwyneth Paltrow's podcast about geriatric gynecology. It was a really good podcast.
Yes.
I'm finding somebody that
Isn't,
specialized,
isn't
that,
her podcast called The Goop or something?
yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Um, no, it's called We Can Do Hard Things.
Oh, okay.
That's what it is. We can do hard things.
yeah, I think her brand is Goop, like
I
the
see.
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Mhm. So anyhow, I that's how I
Hmm.
got inspired to look for a different gynecologist than the people that I was actually seeing.
Right.
And then because I didn't really know that there were people out there that just specialized in that,
Mm.
Right.
that are no longer in perimenopause or even, our reproductive years. It's just different.
Right.
It's a big change, it is such a big change. Who was I talking to about this? That men have no idea. I mean, men, they start losing testosterone as they get older. And for us, it's such a complete change about what our bodies can do and then cannot do after that happens. So you're going to go on HRT now?
I am.
Oh, good. And is this
Yep.
going to
I
be,
just got all my blood work actually.
oh, great. Who are you going through?
I am going through a place in Manchester called the Alchemy Clinic, and
Oh, and
uh,
you're doing bio-T?
I am going to do bio-T.
Oh,
Yep.
you're going to do bio-T? Okay, I looked into that. So now
Yeah.
we're looking at two different ways of doing hormone replacement. So
Mhm.
I'm going to go to Dr. Laura. I see her next week, Dr. Laura Jones in New Hampshire in Concord.
I love her. You know
And
that.
she will do it probably, like you said, through saliva, and
So
then does the get the results, and then it's going to be through probably a pill form, or maybe it might be some on the skin. Uh, I looked into BioT, and you'll have to tell me how it works.
I will. What she said to me was that if she started me out at the place where she thinks the level should be, then I'm going to feel really amazing really quickly.
Wow.
She said, and then it's going to start to titrate because I'm going to do the pellet.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe I have pill form as an option, but I've shared with you before, I am terrible about taking things on a daily basis.
Mm.
I'll do it really well, and you're really great at it. You'll do it, I'll do it for a couple of weeks, and then I get off track, and
Right, right. Yeah, it does. It take,
so
get older, it takes time to remember to do that thing. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, well, I was just always that way, Janet. I literally am a person that struggles to do those types of things on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so
BioT, Patty, I have to tell you,
That's the
BioT,
pellet, right? That they
it's
put in your
a
hip or
pellet that they
something, you
inject.
said?
They put it in your hip or something, and it goes for 3 or 4 months. Do you know?
they said anywhere from 3 to 5,
Three to
depending
five.
de depending on the person.
And the hormones, though, are bioidentical. So that's the big theme here. Because now what our mothers never told us, my mother, she had a hysterectomy. So after she had the hysterectomy, they put her on Premarin, a pregnant horse's urine, that they make a pill for women. And back in the day, and this is when my mom went through her hysterectomy, they gave her Premarin, and she was on Premarin for years, and it's 10 times stronger than what our bodies need. And she had all kinds of issues going on with taking it. So I think eventually, I was out of the house then. She went to bioidentical, and she's the one who told me my mom actually told me something about bioidentical. And so that's when I started reading, what was her name? Oh, I can't remember. She was one of the forerunners of women talking about it. Our bodies, ourselves. Who is the woman
Oh
who
yeah, I don't remember who the
and
author is. I remember the book.
menopause book? I can't remember who that is, but I took her newsletter and I found out all about how important, going through and so when I was going through perimenopause, I was on HRT
Mm,
because my symptoms were so bad.
mm.
So, and then when you get off of, when you finally go through menopause, you can still stay on HRT. Did they say how old you had to be, how long they will do it for? Did they say anything about BioT?
No, no, in fact, she spent a lot of time talking about the outdated studies that were incorrect about women not being able to be on or start hormone replacement in your 60s because it was so dangerous. They said that actually is not true. There's some people that would have conditions that would disqualify them. One would be breast cancer that was sensitive to hormone treatment. I think I might say that
Mm.
correctly, or blood clots.
Right,
So
or the Brock gene probably.
yeah,
We're not
yeah,
giving
right.
medical advice here. We're
No,
just talking our stories, and the most important thing is people need to check with the doctor for if they've had breast cancer or
Right.
issues like that before they go into hormone replacement. But yeah, that's very interesting, because you have to have a doctor talk to you, but there's different kinds of doctors, and this is what's really important, is your traditional functional, they're not a functional doctor.
oh,
Your
Western medicine
PCP.
doctors.
Western medicine, that's a great way to
Yeah.
put it.
Yeah.
Western medicine, they're right by the book, and they would in fact, my insurance company wasn't going to cover this new treatment I'm on. They said, no, you should be taking Premarin. I'm like, what are you from the ancient, like 20, 40 years ago? What are you talking about? And so the bioidentical, I think, finally is getting some foothold in people's, hormone replacement rather than using Premarin or there's inserts, which you said you used, right, Laura? You use Vagifem.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's another insert that's called Estrine, which it looks like a diaphragm. It's a big circle, and you can pop that in, and that's in for like 3 months. So that does help too.
Yeah. Is
Patty,
that
have
true?
you learned a lot?
I have. Yeah.
And how old are you, Patty?
I'm 44.
You have time yet.
Yeah.
And one of the most recent podcasts I listened to, which was I don't remember the title of it, but it was on Mel Robbins, and it was everything about hormones.
Mm.
And it talked about how we don't have to wait. And it sounds like, Jane, you didn't wait. You were perimenopausal and you were on HRT prior to. And that is so incredible. But our regular doctors are not talking about
No.
this.
In fact, the only time when I found out about it is because I kept thinking I had bladder infections, and they weren't bladder infections. When they would test me, it was not a fungal infection, it wasn't bacterial, and it was something else. What was that? And so I went to a gynecologist, and finally, one of the gynecologists I went to said, "Well, you know what it is? It's vaginal atrophy." And she said, "Try Vagifem." And as soon as I tried that, my life was different.
Mm.
But now the symptoms keep coming, and now it's more like oriented toward the bladder and that thinning and the burning that goes with that. And now I'm at a Eurogyne. So it's you have to keep fighting for this stuff. That's the thing I realize is
Yeah.
there's no book. Our mothers definitely forgot to mention any of this,
Right.
and we're all like just pioneers actually finding out what it's like to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
So
And the importance of advocacy. I mean, you have to advocate for yourself and that's, what it sounds like you're doing is saying, okay, well, no, this isn't acceptable. I'm still experiencing something. Okay, what's the next step? Who is the next person? If you're not going to give me answers, let me find somebody who is, and to keep doing that because that is also a big part, especially as women, I think, and with doctors and all of that, is it's finding doctors who actually will help and
yep,
find answers. And yeah, it's a lot of work. You have to keep advocating, but I think it's super important.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Laura, is there anything else maybe that you wanted to add to your experience because it's unique to you?
No, I think, again, I know the podcast is more perimenopause, and you'll have another podcast another time about postmenopausal. Um, but I have just been becoming, awakened to how important estrogen is in our bodies and,
Yes.
and that we just don't have to suffer this way.
Yeah.
But actually, the podcast that I just listened to talked about, and I can't state what with fact what the percentages were, but women in dementia or Alzheimer's
Yep.
and heart disease
Yep.
markedly goes up when estrogen drops.
Yes.
I mean,
Oh,
it's
really?
responsible.
Yes.
It's responsible for so much,
Many things. That's why.
many things.
I totally agree. In fact, when I went to this urogynecologist a few weeks ago, he said that the research on it is changing so much. He said that women in their 80s are staying on HRT.
Mhm.
So I had listened to a gynecologist about 2 years ago that said, "Oh, you're 70. You should get off of them. They're dangerous." And ever since then, my life has been challenged for the last 2 years with all kinds of things. So anyway. I totally agree. So we should say that to all the women and men for them to know their partners, what they're struggling with.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the aging process for men, I'm sure they have their own challenges, but it's very different.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I remember my husband, we were talking about weight and diet, and he said, "Well, can I share with you what I'm thinking, what my thoughts are?" And I said, "Well, if you're going to tell me to eat less and exercise more, then no, you can't tell."
Then don't talk to me.
He did well, he was gonna, he just, it's our bodies are very different, especially when we're at this, menopausal or postmenopausal stage.
Right.
We just don't, it's just not the same as men.
Right. What
Yeah.
was that the advice he was going to give you?
Yeah, that
Oh,
was the advice he was, and I knew it, which is why I said, if you're
yeah.
gonna give me the advice of
Oh,
exercise or eat less,
Yeah.
I think I'm all set with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this
So
is super helpful. Yeah. Go ahead, Jen.
I was going to say thanks, Laura, for coming on.
you're
Um,
welcome.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. If you like what you've heard, please share it with friends, subscribe, and leave a review.
And remember, information shared on this podcast is not medical advice. If you have a concern about your physical or mental health, please seek support from a professional.
If you have a story you'd like to share about things your mother forgot to mention, you can apply to be a guest.
We'd also love to hear a quick 90-second thing you've learned in your life.
You can find links to both of those over at our website at
thingsmymotherforgottomention.com or in the show notes.
Thank you.